Welcome to today's explainer. Let's just jump right in, and I actually want you to start by doing a quick visualization with me. Picture this. You're sitting completely alone in a silent, pitch-black room. Nothing is touching you. Nothing is making even a single sound. It's really just you and the total, absolute absence of light.
But here's the catch. Sitting in that perfectly safe room, your heart probably starts beating just a little bit faster, right? You might get a sudden chill or kind of feel this weird urge to check over your shoulder. But if darkness itself literally cannot hurt you, it's just a lack of photons after all, why are so many of us genuinely afraid of it? What is actually happening inside our bodies and our minds the second those lights go out?
To answer that, let's look at Section 1, the darkroom response. Which brings us right into Section 2, ancient survival programming. You have to think back thousands of years. Back then, darkness was, genuinely dangerous. When the sun went down, early humans simply couldn't see the predators that might be hiding right nearby. So the humans who stayed hyper-alert, even anxious in the dark, those were the ones who were actually more likely to survive the night. And over generations, that specific life-saving alertness evolved. It got passed down, ultimately becoming a fundamental survival instinct for our entire species.
And here is the really wild part about that. Even today, when you're sitting inside your completely secure, locked, temperature-controlled modern home, your brain is still running traces of that exact same primitive programming. It literally reacts to a perfectly safe hallway as if there's a saber-toothed tiger lurking just outside the bathroom. You are simply hardwired by evolution to be extremely wary whenever you can't clearly see your surroundings.
Let's move on to Section 3, the uncertainty problem.
So, how does this psychological defense system actually work? Let's break down the mechanical steps. Step 1. You enter the darkness, and visual information is totally removed. You can't see the walls, the floor, the furniture. Then Step 2, your brain encounters uncertainty. And here's the thing you absolutely have to know about the human brain. It absolutely despises uncertainty. It flat out refuses to just accept that it doesn't know what's out there in the dark. So it immediately jumps to Step 3. It starts aggressively filling in the blanks.
Because your brain is trying to protect you, every small sound suddenly becomes super suspicious. Every little shadow feels like it's alive. Your brain starts rapidly imagining all these worst-case scenarios. Suddenly, that totally harmless pile of laundry draped over a chair morphs into a terrifying demon, right? Your brain is really just trying to keep you safe, but without actual visual data to correct it, your imagination just goes into absolute overdrive.
Which ties perfectly into Section 4, imagination and vulnerability.
Think about this comparison for a second. A dark room during the day, maybe with just the curtains drawn, doesn't really feel nearly as scary as that exact same dark room at midnight. Why is that? Well, it's because your brain inherently associates the nighttime with severe vulnerability. At midnight, you're physically tired, the world around you is significantly quieter, and without all those usual daytime distractions, your imagination just gets that much stronger. It is literally the perfect storm for your mind to make you feel completely exposed. Now, time of day definitely plays a big role, but so do personal amplifiers, because we don't all experience darkness the exact same way. Kids, for instance, are usually much more afraid of the dark simply because their imaginations are so highly active, but adults for sure aren't immune to this. If you have frightening past experiences tied to the dark, your brain remembers that. And, crucially, high stress levels and underlying anxiety make this fear so much stronger. When your mind is already worried about things, the darkness basically gives those everyday worries a giant blank canvas to grow on. And finally, Section 5, fearing the unknown.
We've reached a pretty profound realization about human nature here. Humans are not actually afraid of the dark itself at all. And honestly, this is exactly why horror movies rarely show the monster clearly. Filmmakers understand this psychological secret perfectly. What you imagine hiding in the shadows is infinitely scarier than any reality they could physically show you on screen. Darkness creates uncertainty, and it's that uncertainty that allows your brain to fabricate these paralyzing fears that don't actually exist in the physical world.
So the ultimate takeaway from all of this is actually quite simple. The dark isn't what humans fear. It's the unknown. Darkness simply removes certainty. It limits what we can confidently see, which triggers those ancient survival instincts we've carried around for millennia, and ultimately, it lets our imagination take total control. You aren't afraid of the absence of light. You're afraid of the unknown things your own mind puts into that empty space. Which leaves us with a truly fascinating question to wrap up this explainer on. If the most frightening things exist entirely inside our own minds,
What else is your brain inventing right now? I mean, if your brain can fabricate an entire monster out of a shadowy chair just to keep you safe, how else is your perception of reality being altered by your own instincts on a daily basis? It really makes you question everything you see, or I guess don't see. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it helped shed a little bit of light on the shadows.